Did you know your body has these, like, hidden superpowers just waiting to be unlocked? Seriously.
It sounds like science fiction, but it's just biology.
Exactly. And we're talking about periods without food. The sources you shared show they don't just cut calories, they can actually flip genetic switches, put your body into this intense repair mode.
It's a fundamental shift. When there's no food coming in for a bit, the body thinks, okay, time to get efficient. It focuses on maintenance, cellular renewal, constant digestion.
Right, in that repair mode, it can mean less inflammation. It can actually stimulate the growth of brain cells. Yes, brain cells.
It's pretty amazing.
And curb hunger, cravings, once you adapt anyway, and trigger this internal cleanup system, like a self-cleaning oven, clearing out old damaged cells.
Autophagy, yeah. We'll get into that.
It seems so backwards, doesn't it? That not eating sometimes could be so beneficial, but it's about using food timing strategically.
And that's exactly what these sources dig into. So this deep dive, it's all about intermittent fasting. Not just the idea, but, the practical steps. How to start, how to make it work for you.
Right. Our mission here is to cut through the noise, really unpack the core ideas and the how-to steps from the material you gave us so you get a clear picture of what's actually involved.
Okay, so to understand intermittent fasting, we kind of need to see where most people are starting from.
Which is?
Frequent eating. All day long. Breakfast, mid-morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, maybe something before bed.
The constant grazing model, kitchen's always open.
Exactly. And the big issue with that, biologically speaking, is insulin. Every single time you eat, boom, you trigger insulin release.
Which you need, right, to get sugar out of the blood.
You absolutely need it. But the problem is frequency. Triggering it constantly means your insulin levels are high pretty much all day long.
And consistently high insulin. That's where the trouble starts. Metabolic trouble.
That's the path. It leads straight to insulin resistance, which is, the precursor to prediabetes, and a whole cascade of related health problems, something you really want to avoid.
Okay, so intermittent fasting aims to break that cycle. The core goal, then, is changing your body's main fuel.
That's the absolute key shift. Instead of running primarily on sugar, glucose, which is what your body burns first after eating,
right,
the goal is to train your body to get really good at burning fat for fuel instead, making ketones.
And why is fat the target fuel source long term?
Well, just look at the storage tanks. The sources point out even a lean person has like over 100,000 calories stored as fat.
Wow. Compared to sugar.
Tiny. Only about 1,700 calories of stored sugar, glycogen. We just weren't built to rely on constantly topping up those tiny sugar stores. Fat is our huge, abundant reserve tank.
Makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint. No 247 supermarkets back then.
Precisely. But making that switch from being a sugar burner to an efficient fat burner takes time.
Yeah, how long are we talking?
The sources suggest maybe 3 to 5 days just to sort of start tapping into fat burning properly. But to feel really comfortable, get the sustained energy, the mental clarity, see big changes like losing belly fat, that could take more like 3 to 4 months.
Okay, so definitely not an overnight thing. It's a metabolic retraining process. Patience required.
Absolutely. You're teaching your body a new trick, essentially.
You got it. So someone's ready to try this. They want that metabolic shift. Where do they actually begin? The sources lay out a pretty clear path.
Yeah, they make it quite manageable. Step 1 is simple. Just reduce how often you eat. If you're doing snacks and multiple meals now, just aim for 3 distinct meals a day. And this is crucial. No snacks in between, none.
Just close the kitchen doors between meals?
Yeah.
But the sources also really hammer home what you eat in those 3 meals. It's not just when.
Oh, absolutely critical for making this work. They strongly recommend pairing this with what they term healthy ketosis. That means really cutting back on the carbs.
Sugar, bread, pasta, that stuff.
Right. And replacing those calories with healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, nuts, seeds, and crucially, tons of vegetables.
Okay, why the big focus on fats and veggies when you're trying to stretch time between meals?
Good question. 2 main reasons. Healthy fats, they make you feel full, really satisfied, much longer than carbs do. It's going longer without eating way easier.
Less feeling deprived.
Exactly. And vegetables. They're packed with essential minerals, potassium, magnesium, things you really need for energy, especially during this transition, plus fiber.
Ah, the fiber. Good for digestion, obviously, but there's more to it.
Oh, yeah. That fiber feeds your good gut bacteria. And when they munch on it, they produce stuff like butyric acid.
Butyric acid, what does that do?
According to the sources, it's pretty powerful. Helps improve insulin sensitivity, tackling the core problem. It can actually decrease hunger signals. It feeds the cells lining your colon, keeps them healthy. Support your immune system too. So veggies help the whole process.
It's like laying the groundwork properly. Okay, so 3 meals, no snacks, focus on healthy fats, lots of veggies. What's step 2?
Once you're comfortable there, feeling okay with 3 meals, the next step is to transition down to 2 meals a day. Again, no snacks.
And this is where that key principle really comes into play, isn't it? Eat only when you're actually hungry.
This is probably the most important rule.
Yeah.
You stop eating by the clock. No more, oh, it's 1 p.m., time for lunch. You wait until your body clearly signals it needs fuel.
How do you tell real hunger from, like, habit hunger or maybe just boredom?
Yeah, the sources make a distinction. That little pang you might feel around 8 a.m. could just be your morning cortisol spike, a stress hormone thing. Often if you drink some water, wait a bit, it just passes.
Okay.
True hunger is usually more definite. Maybe some stomach rumbling or slight pain, maybe feeling a bit weak or lightheaded, maybe even a bit grouchy, especially at first.
That hangry feeling, that could just be the body adjusting away from sugar.
Exactly. It's your body saying, hey, where's my usual sugar hit? But the more you ignore the slight pangs and wait for the real deal, the better your body gets at flipping the switch to fat burning. And those intense signals lessen over time.
And the key to getting down to 2 meals often involves skipping breakfast if you're not hungry then.
Absolutely. If you wake up, you've been doing this for a few days, and you just don't feel hungry, don't eat out of habit. The sources explain that eating triggers insulin, which then lowers your blood sugar.
Right.
And that drop can make you feel hungry an hour later, even if you weren't hungry to begin with. Break that cycle, push that first meal later, let it drift until you naturally land on just 2 meals.
Got it. So now you're consistently at 2 meals, say lunch and dinner. What's the next progression?
Then you start playing with the eating window.
Yeah.
This just means shrinking the time frame during the day when you eat those 2 meals.
Pushing them closer together.
Exactly. So the fasting period, the time you're not eating, gets longer.
Okay, what are some common timings or ratios people use?
The sources mention the popular ones like 168, that's 16 hours fasting, an 8-hour window to eat your 2 meals.
Okay.
Or 186, 18 hours fasting, 6-hour eating window. Even 220 hours fasting, just a 4-hour window. The first number is always the fast.
And why would someone want to push towards a longer fast, like 18 or 20 hours? What's the extra benefit?
Well, the sources suggest those longer fasting windows, especially getting past 16, maybe 18 hours, tend to unlock deeper benefits, particularly if you have, significant weight to lose, or you're really trying to tackle issues like stubborn inflammation, immune problems, maybe organ health, or cognitive stuff like brain fog. Protecting brain health long term.
Which leads logically to the next step for some people. 1 meal a day.
OMAD. Right. That's basically taking the eating window concept to its max. Usually means about a 1-hour window to eat your single meal for the day and fasting for the other 23 hours.
Wow. Who typically ends up doing OMAD? Sounds intense.
A lot of people find they just naturally gravitate towards it as they become really efficient fat burners. The sources mentioned is pretty common for folks over 50, maybe with slower metabolisms, or people with thyroid issues needing to lose weight. But it's not just for weight loss. Lots of really fit people do OMAD because they just feel fantastic running on fat all day. Great energy, mental clarity.
And the specific benefits of OMAD, besides maybe faster weight loss?
Yeah, besides potentially eating fewer calories naturally in one meal, the body gets incredibly efficient. It learns to conserve nutrients really well. You don't lose muscle protein like you might think, because fasting actually boosts things like growth hormone. It becomes really good at using the fuel it gets. You don't necessarily need to cram 3 meals worth of food into one sitting.
The survival mechanism, again, being efficient. Is there a recommended time for that 1 meal?
The sources suggest maybe eating later in the day, perhaps between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. The idea is your body might be more in that rest and digest parasympathetic state then, which could help with digesting a larger meal.
And you mentioned a way to kind of ease into OMAD.
Yeah, if going straight to 231 feels like too much, you could start with your main meal and then maybe have a small, healthy snack like some nuts or something a bit later, but still within that roughly 1-hour window. Then gradually close that gap to just the 1 meal.
Okay, so we've got the progression. 3 meals, 2 meals, shrink the window, maybe OMAD. Let's circle back to the why. Beyond just calories, why does this work so well? Those genetic switches you mentioned.
Right. This is the really cool part. It taps into our ancient survival programming. When your body doesn't have food coming in constantly, it senses a mild temporary scarcity. And that flips on genes designed for resilience, for repair. Your body basically says, okay, times might be tough. Let's fix things up, become more efficient.
And what are some of the biggest repair benefits that get switched on?
Well, the sources consistently highlight decreased inflammation. Systemic inflammation is linked to so many chronic diseases, so that's huge.
Definitely.
Also, improvements in brain health, better focus, concentration, sure, but the sources even mention stimulating new brain cell growth, improving memory, learning.
That brain cell growth part is wild. Really shows it's not just about weight.
Not at all. And as you become fat adapted, most people find hunger and cravings just dramatically reduce. Your body isn't screaming for sugar anymore.
Okay, let's hit that self-cleaning oven again. Autophagy. What's the timing needed for that to really kick in?
This is a key detail from the sources. Autophagy really ramps up around 18 hours of fasting, and it gets even stronger past 20 hours.
18 hours minimum.
That seems to be the general consensus in the
Sure.
material, yeah. That's when your cells start seriously eating their own junk, old proteins, damaged mitochondria, even pathogens like viruses or bacteria. It's cellular recycling.
So just skipping breakfast, doing maybe a 12 or 14-hour overnight fast isn't really enough for significant autophagy.
Probably not the deep cleaning effects, no. You need to push that fasting window longer, more consistently to really get those benefits. That's why people often report feeling younger, less stiff. Your body is literally clearing out the old stuff.
Incredible. It really drives home that this is about triggering deep biological repair, not just managing calories.
It's unlocking systems that are already built into it.
Now, it sounds amazing, but the sources are honest. The transition isn't always smooth sailing. What kind of bumps might people hit?
Yeah, as your metabolism shifts, especially if you start out with some underlying nutrient gaps, you might hit temporary issues. Things like fatigue, headaches, maybe some nausea or dizziness, even a skin rash sometimes.
Okay.
Dehydration symptoms are common at first. Some people might see a temporary spike in uric acid could trigger gout if you're prone, or even temporary hair thinning if, say, B vitamin levels are low.
So these aren't necessarily caused by fasting itself, but more like the body adapting and maybe revealing existing deficiencies?
That's exactly how the sources frame it. And the good news is they offer clear solutions to smooth out that transition significantly.
Okay, great. What are the top recommendations?
Number one is electrolytes. When you cut carbs, you lose water, and electrolytes go with it. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, that headache or weakness, often low sodium.
Ah.
So the sources strongly advise adding sea salt, it may be about a level teaspoon spread through the day, in food or water, and taking a good electrolyte supplement, especially one high in potassium and magnesium. They're crucial for energy.
So salt is actually your friend here during adaptation.
Absolutely essential. They also mentioned B vitamins, maybe from non-fortified nutritional yeast. They're key for metabolizing fats and proteins, running the new energy system. Can help with things like preventing that temporary hair thinning too.
Any specific foods or drinks that help?
Definitely keep up the veggies for minerals and fiber. Lemon juice alike 1 or 2 ounces in water. The citrate helps buffer uric acid, good for gout risk, and might help prevent kidney stones.
Interesting.
Apple cider vinegar, a teaspoon or tablespoon in water, maybe in the evening, can help stabilize blood sugars. Especially helpful if you have insulin resistance or that dawn phenomenon where blood sugar is high in the morning.
Right.
And for appetite help, they mention Hoodia gardenia tea as a natural option.
What about actually speeding up the switch to burning fat?
MCT oil for that. Taking some in the morning, maybe with coffee, gives your body quick ketones for energy. It helps you feel satisfied, makes the fast easier, and can kind of jumpstart that fat-burning feeling.
Good tip. What about that high morning blood sugar, the dawn phenomenon, in people with insulin resistance? Any specific advice?
Yeah, that's partly the cortisol spike releasing glucose. The sources have a great practical tip. Exercise during your fasting window, before your first meal.
Oh, fasted exercise.
Exactly. Helps burn off that glucose that got released. It's seen as really beneficial.
And what about feeling tired after eating, which sometimes happens with insulin resistance? Does that improve?
Yes. The sources say that definitely gets better over time. That post-meal fatigue happens because nutrients aren't getting into the cells properly. As fasting improves your insulin sensitivity, your cells get better at taking in fuel, and that crash goes away.
Makes sense. Any last practical tips for just getting through the initial adaptation phase?
Stay busy. The sources say sitting around watching the clock for your eating window is tough. Get out. Do things. Also, prep your food ahead.
Good idea.
If you're going out, take your healthy meal or snacks with you so when your window opens, you're ready. You avoid making bad choices out of desperation. It just takes a bit of planning.
Okay, this has been incredibly detailed. So based on everything in the sources, what's the overall picture? What could someone realistically hope to feel once they get into the groove?
The picture painted is really positive once you're adapted, feeling significantly better overall, easier weight management for sure.
Yeah.
That improved focus and mental clarity comes up a lot.
Yep.
Less body stiffness, more stable, consistent energy throughout the day, better digestion. And for most, once they're fat adapted, way less hunger and fewer cravings.
So it shifts from feeling restrictive to actually feeling more free from constant hunger.
That's the idea. It's not about starving. It's about eating when you're truly hungry and giving your body these essential periods of rest and deep repair.
And patience is key. We heard that loud and clear.
Absolutely. Give your body the time, weeks, maybe months, to really make that fundamental metabolic switch. It's a big change.
You know, this whole deep dive really makes you appreciate the incredible design of our bodies. Having these powerful repair tools like autophagy just built in, waiting to be activated by simply changing when we eat.
It's truly remarkable. We just need to work with our biology, not constantly against it.
It really makes you wonder, what other powerful biological processes might we be missing out on or even suppressing with our modern lifestyles that don't include these periods of rest and repair? Something to think about.
That's a profound question.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into getting started with intermittent fasting, drawing directly from the sources you shared. We really hope this gave you a clear roadmap, the steps, the benefits, how to handle the bumps.
Yeah, hopefully it demystified it a bit.
And if you found this deep dive valuable, if you want more insights into building a healthy body, please do like this deep dive and subscribe to the channel. It really helps more people find this information. Thanks so much for joining us.